Today we have a Loveland Trials with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. This is a car that we've gotten to test a decent amount. It's been out for a while, but we have yet to do a Loveland Trials video with it.
Yeah, the Loveland Trials is kind of our standardized electric car test. We've done so much with this car. We've road tripped it across country actually, but now it's time to get it on our sort of standardized EV test so we can see exactly how this compares in terms of range to all the other EVs we've had at the office.
And one of the reasons that we're interested in doing that is because this Ioniq 5 is kind of one of our go-to EVs to recommend. It's good in a lot of different ways, as we'll talk about through this video. It's quick charging, it's got decent range, it's a nice car, pretty solid performer. And before we get moving, we should do a little walk around just to show you around the car briefly. We won't spend too much time on that because the car has been around for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. We'll start off with the design. We'll tell you some of the specs as we get rolling, but I think one of the main reasons we recommend this car a lot is because it's one of the better looking EVs. It's not so blob-like. It's got some really angular lines to it, and I'm always a big fan of kind of the hatchback sort of style. And yes, this is a little bit bigger than, you know, your traditional hatchback, but I think it's just an awesome looking car. And when you get on the inside, it's just clean and simple without being too minimalistic. I think that really knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, and that's especially important because this is a very competitive segment of EVs. There's a lot of other vehicles in this size category, but cool things about this one, for one, these wheels. Hyundai and Kia in general, and even Genesis, they're making some really cool wheels. This is no exception. So that's pretty cool. Also a lot of cool details, a lot of cool lighting on this car. It's got very blocky headlights with these squares that are integrated all over it. And actually we just topped off this car's battery in a parking garage, and it was dark enough in there that you could see all these lines that were built into this panel below the headlights. And during the daytime, you would have no idea. And then to your point, yeah, there's a lot of angles on this car that are pretty cool. These ones below the door, which I like a lot.
Yeah, and just some different materials. Like, you're used to seeing black cladding around the wheel wells on a lot of cars. These, you know, it's still plastic, but it looks like a brushed aluminum almost. So a little bit of a different style. And then some really cool taillights too. I love the pixelated look of the taillights in the back here. That's my favorite part about this whole car.
Yeah, it kind of matches the front end. And then below, again, we've got some more of these lines, kind of like what you have along the side. Also a pretty cool center high mount stoplight here, the way that this is split into two sections and also very blocky. And then this is actually a little bit of a wing kind of design here on the trunk, and then we can pop it open.
Built for aero.
We've got our camera bags back here. Decent sized trunk, nothing too crazy. I'd say it's pretty on par for the class and for the size of this vehicle. And then you do have just a little bit of storage under here. We have our charger and a tire mobility kit. Not a ton of room under there. There's definitely some EVs that give you a little bit more space below your cargo floor. But we do have actually a frunk, which is nice because some EVs don't offer that.
Yeah, there's a lot of EVs that you would think there'd be some space up front, but there's really nothing. And
look at that.
It's pretty tiny, but there is some storage space. So you can stuff like your charger in there if you wanted to, but you're not gonna fit a whole lot.
No, similar to the back, it's not cavernous, but you could put a couple, 2-3 things in there. So you can tick that box. It does have a frunk. I mean, you could put, how many hoagies would you say?
Oh, that's one hoagie right there.
That's only one hoagie?
One full-size hoagie.
All right, maybe one full-size hoagie, 3-4 bags of chips, and then you're pretty much good to go.
All right, so we just fully charged up. We drove like a mile to get over to this parking lot to start the video. So we're starting off with 99% battery, and it's showing 254 miles of range. This car's rated at 260 miles of range, so that makes sense. We used just a little bit of the battery getting over here, and we've got our trip computer zeroed out. We're gonna start heading our way out of Boulder up towards Loveland Pass and see what the efficiency's like.
Yeah, and it's a very steep climb. We're gonna go from where we are right now at around 5,000 feet to about 12,000 feet at the top of Loveland Pass. So it's a lot of climbing to get there, so we'll see how much energy we use in the process of getting to Loveland Pass. And then on our way down, of course, we'll be dropping all that elevation, and we can see how much energy we'll recoup on the way back. But in the meantime, we can talk a little bit about the car itself. And what do you think of this interior, Alex?
I think this is a really, really nice interior. Cole and I, who's behind the camera, we spent a lot of time in here together, road tripping it back from California, and neither of us felt cramped up. It's a good place to be for a long period of time. You have a sunshade up top, so even though we've got this big glass moonroof here, we can still shade that off, and you know, it's not going to get so hot in here, which is nice.
That's interesting. You push it back to make it go forward, and you push it forward to make it go back.
It's two pieces that come together.
Wow, so that's actually a pretty cool operation. I did not know that.
Right? But yeah, otherwise, I think this like white surround around the screen is a little interesting. I'm not sure if I like that or dislike it, but it is different.
Yeah, I kind of wish that we had slightly smaller bezels around the screens. I think the screens themselves look pretty good. I typically do like when, especially the dash of a car has a binnacle over it to shade it, because sometimes you can catch some glare off these screens, make them a little bit more difficult to see. But that being said, these screens are bright enough that even in pretty direct light like they are right now, it's still not too bad to get to see them.
So yeah, good spot to be. This comfort definitely won't be an issue on this couple-hour trip we're about to do. But yeah, we're gonna keep cruising towards the mountains, and we'll check back in as we get a little closer. It is worth noting, it is so hot today, like extremely hot. We're in the middle of July. I guess we're closer to August now, but 91 degrees showing on the screen right now. I think the high today is 95, so it'll cool down a little bit as we get into the mountains, but it's a hot one.
And it's worth mentioning too that we are not going to be hypermiling this car. We're going to drive it as you would drive it normally from day to day. So we're going to be driving it in its normal mode. We're going to use the AC. We're going to do the speed limit and see how the car performs under the kinds of circumstances that you actually use it.
Exactly. 1.5 miles down. A lot of miles left to go. See you in a little bit.
So we just pulled off the highway and we're heading up Loveland Pass right now. We're at the very beginning of it. Loveland Ski Resort is right here. There's almost no snow up here whatsoever, but right now we've gone about 70 miles. We're at 61% battery with 150 miles left of range, which is a pretty comfortable figure for us getting back since we're going to drop so much elevation.
Yeah, we're not having any range anxiety about having to get back, especially with all the downhill. We're almost at our halfway point, but this last couple miles getting to the halfway point is some of the hardest drive that we have to do on this whole trip. So efficiency isn't going to be great these next couple of miles, but still we don't have to worry too much.
Yeah, and this is actually a pretty fun car to cruise this section of road in because we've got 320 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque. So if I toss our videographer into the back seat there, you can feel we have pretty good acceleration. Obviously, one of the nice things about being an EV is that we're not losing power as we go up in elevation like in an ICE car. In fact, as the air gets thinner, these actually get a little bit faster up at high elevation. And this is the all-wheel drive. It's pretty heavy. It's about 4,500 pounds, 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery, so pretty sizable battery. But it's still a fun car to drive. It's not super engaging, but it's quick enough to have a little fun with.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. It's not an exciting car, but it's fun. It's fun to cruise around, fun to push through some of the twisty roads. It's not, you know, super boring when you get it out on these roads. It's still, you can have fun with it, which is nice. Like you said, 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, so not huge. You know, 260 miles of rated range isn't spectacular, but it's good enough, and especially when you pair that with the charging this car gets, which DC fast charging, you can go from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes if you're on the right chargers. So even though the range isn't spectacular, I think the fast charging kind of makes up for that.
Driving up this in the summer, wildflowers all around, it's pretty green. Some of this is steep enough that I'm not sure there's a ton that can grow. Yeah, this is just an absolutely spectacular section to drive, and we are closing in on the top of this pass.
Yeah, it's pretty gorgeous up here. We've got a couple little pockets of snow still hanging out, but it's pretty green for the most part. So yeah, we'll get up to the top here. We'll do a quick check-in on range when we get to the very top, and then what do you want? You want to switch drivers so I can kind of get a feel for this car on the way back down?
Yeah, especially because you're the tech guy. I'm cripplingly bad with technology. So when we head back down, I'll have you test out some of the lane centering and adaptive cruise kind of features. And also get your impression of it. The other thing that you'll get more of a feel for, not that you haven't in the past because you've driven this car, but on the way down, you'll get to use these paddles, which I like a lot because you can adjust how much regen you're getting. So if you want this car to coast like a gas-powered car with an automatic and not really slow down when you let off the pedal at all, you can do that with the simple touch of these paddles, or you can dial it in little bit by little bit until you hit the point where you're in iPedal, which is what I'm at right now, so that if I let off the pedal, it'll bring the car all the way to a stop, which is pretty cool. So you can really dial that in.
Yeah, and I like that it's easy to access, so we'll give that a go for sure.
Yeah, and here we are at the top of the hill. So we'll pull off here and walk around a little bit. This is a pretty spectacular spot to be at, and it would be a damn shame to drive all the way here and not get out and look at everything that you can see off this pass. What do you think of the paddles, Alex?
I'm liking the paddles. I'm kind of dancing between mode 2 and 3 right now. Getting some more regen as we come up to some of the sharper turns, but I really don't have to use the brakes much.
I mean, basically the nice thing about it is if you flatten out a little bit, you can let yourself coast some more, and it's just easy to switch between. Other cars, you got to go into the menu and you got to switch that. So that makes it super easy. And on our way down, we're starting at 56% and 149 miles of range. So we'll see by the time we get back to Boulder how much energy we've used. There should be some sections where we recoup a little bit.
Yeah, that's the benefit of driving an EV in the mountains is if you've got good regen, you're putting some battery back in. And we actually saw that video I did with Tommy recently where we took the Cybertruck towing side-by-side up into the mountains and drove it all the way up, used a ton of power to get up to the top of the mountain, but on the way back down, it was like a 30-minute drive, and we had more battery percentage remaining at the bottom than we did at the top, so.
Yeah, I'm also happy that we had to go up Loveland Pass and not through the tunnel because there's some serious traffic down there on I-70 heading up toward the tunnel.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate. I-70 is always a zoo, no matter what time of year it is. You got ski traffic in the winter, and all the camping, RVing people in the summer. It's never ending.
Yeah, it's a really pretty highway, but I would say in some ways it's the worst thing about Colorado, having to drive I-70, because if you want to do a weekend up in the mountains and you live where we live, 90% of the time you're going to be on I-70.
Yeah, Roman and I were joking last week because we have this new trail guide series that we're doing where we show, give a tour of some of the different trails. And we were laughing that I-70 has got to be the most dangerous trail in Colorado.
So Alex, it seems like you've got the steering assist or the lane centering on.
I do.
But you've still had to be a little involved.
Yeah, I have to be very involved, I would say. So right now I just have the lane keep assist on. I'm gonna go ahead and turn cruise control on, set it to 65, which is our speed limit here. So that's nice. Adaptive cruise, always like that in any car on the highway. I think that's a good feature. The lane keep, I feel like I'm having to put in more attention to staying in my lane with the lane keep on than if I had it off and I was just driving normally. Right now we're like really hugging this yellow line, so I have to correct it a little bit to get over here. Now we're really hugging this white line, so I'm going to correct it again. I just feel like I'm constantly fighting it. So I prefer to just keep the lanes centering off, use the adaptive cruise, and that's easier for me.
Well, I noticed too that there's quite a few sections like where we're at right now where there's not really a visible line on the right because it's just kind of faded away, even though this is I-70. This is a major highway. So this is not some cracked and forlorn back road. But because this line disappears quite often, it's kind of in and out, the car will sometimes drift over a little bit into the shoulder when it's not really sure where the end of the lane is. So yeah, I agree. It seems a little bit more of a task to have this car's auto steering function active than to just pay attention and steer yourself, because you have to pay a lot of attention either way and kind of fight the car. That's not to say that there aren't any situations where the system probably works well. There's plenty of roads out there that are better marked than this stretch of I-70 that we're on right now, but where we are here, and I think if your lines on the road aren't perfect, it's not a super good system.
Yeah, I agree. And these conditions are as good as we can get. Like, yes, the line isn't perfectly visible, but it's bright and sunny. There's no water on the road or anything, no snow, obviously. I mean, it should, if it's ever going to see this faded line, now's the time it should see that line. So
this is for sure far from the best system that we've tested.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll keep driving. I'm going to keep using the adaptive cruise, but definitely going to leave the lane centering off for the rest of the drive.
Yeah, and worth mentioning too, we're at 58% battery now, so we've picked up 2% battery. Still showing 150 miles of charge, so haven't gone up dramatically there, but we're picking up some energy.
All right, so just shy of 150 miles according to the trip computer on the car, 148.9. We're back in the same parking lot we started in, about 3 hours, and it looks like we averaged about 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, which is not too bad. We're at 46% battery now. One kind of cool thing, when we got our journey rolling, the car actually gave us an estimate of how much more range we would have if we drove around with the AC not running, and it was around 290 miles of range rather than 250 that it was giving us with our climate running. It's cool that it gives you that breakdown. Realistically, especially on a 90+ degree day, I don't think a lot of people are going to be driving around with the AC not going.
Definitely not.
It's still good information to have.
Yeah, you know, in the fall months or the spring months, you could definitely turn the AC off, roll the windows down, and stretch your range a little bit. But in this kind of weather, we've got wildfires going on behind us. It's 95 degrees. There's no way we're running without AC.
No, but the car was awesome on that trip. Didn't really feel much like 3 hours at all. It just felt like a nice drive through some beautiful mountain terrain. It was really great in this car. And the energy usage was fine.
It was great, yeah. Impressive on the way back. What were we, like 150 miles at the top of the pass of remaining range?
Yeah, it was telling us, I think, 149 when we were at the top. Yeah. And then at one point, about 30 miles later, it was still saying 142 miles of range. So on the way back down, we were definitely recouping some energy, and the car was running a lot more efficiently.
From the top of the pass back to here is about 75 miles or so, and we only used like a little over 30 miles of displayed range on the dash, so that's pretty good. Of course, we used more going up there, but...
Well, yeah. It was, 56, I think, at the top of the pass, and it's 46 now. So, yeah, in that 70+ miles back.
We only used 10%.
Yeah, which is not bad at all. So, yeah, really great car on that trip. Good car to road trip.
We got to show them the price. We haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's worth mentioning. And really, it's a car that's, even though it's been around for a little while, it's aging pretty well, other than the lack of USB-Cs. That shows its age a little bit. And then for price, we've got $59,000.
Yeah, 50. Why'd you tell me I didn't need them in running?
Oh, it was fun to watch you go get it.
$59,000, you got it. So this is the limited dual motor, so one of the more highly spec'd Ioniq 5s you can get. Not the very, very top, but it's up there, so you're gonna pay for it.
And if you want something even more exciting, you can get the N version of this car with 600 horsepower.
There you go. So thanks for watching. Check out alltfl.com. We've got plenty more Loveland trials, and this is a test that we used to do a lot and we're trying to bring back. So we're gonna run pretty much every EV we get at the offices through this same test, so stay tuned.